Welcome to the NBA Triple Double Show powered by SportsMemo. I'm your host, Ronald Cabang, also known as UCapper on sportsmemo.com and at UCapper at U_Capper on Twitter. We're going to be breaking down three of today's games from the MLK Day slate. We got NBA all day today, but before we do get into that, I do want to talk about some promos real quick. We have the season-long packages, remainder of the season for college basketball, NBA, and NHL for just $2.99 each. That includes the NCAA tournament and the NBA, NHL finals through the championships for all of the seasons here. Separately, CBB, college basketball, NBA, NHL, all for $299 each. Today is Monday, also January 16th. $9 Monday, every Monday over at sportsmemo.com. Make sure you head over to the site to check out all the deals that are going on. Once again, the picks and packages are just $9 every Monday. Wagertalk.com, sportsmemo.com. With that said, before you head over there after the show, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. And let's get into the NBA slate today. Let's get Matt in here. Matt, this weekend, man, it was tough for me. I put my plays in early, and I got hit with the injury bugs. On one game on Saturday, one game on actually every day, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I got hit with a game where a key player was not on the injury report, and then they were out after the noon injury report. So I got hit with that, and you can't I want to get your opinion on this real quick if you can.
Yeah.
But say I put a game on yesterday. I had the Mavs +6. Luka was not even he wasn't out at the moment when I did it, and then it went to like +8, 8.5. Would you buy back on that, or would you be like, well, there's gonna be that middle spot where you could lose both bets? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's a tough spot to be in, and sometimes it just bounces that way.
No, 100%. And, with the NBA, I personally don't really buy that middle spot, if I'm being honest, just because the injury replacement theory is something that it's very tough to quantify, but it very much does hold true, pretty often. Me and you discuss it all the time. And so for me, the NBA, I really don't. But for the NFL, I do very often, just because, the NFL is very situational and there's not very many times you get that big middle. But yesterday I did, I'll be honest, because I had Cincinnati Bengals -6.5. That line grew to 9.5. So I was like, man, that's a 3-point middle. That's a pretty big spot. So for something like that with the NFL, I actually did grab that middle and was lucky enough to hit both sides. So that does happen. It's not incredibly often, but for me, I tend to favor the NFL in terms of middle over the NBA, just because of what we've said. The injury replacement theory is something that I personally do follow, and that's personally why I don't do it. But did you end up doing it or no?
No, I didn't. Just because of that. Just because of what you said. It's tough to quantify injury replacement theory. Also, you don't want to be in that position where there's a possibility of you losing both bets. You know what I mean?
Real.
Sometimes, it's a long season, and we're in this for the long haul. And sometimes you gotta sit on what you played, to begin with. But I wanted to get your take on that. How was your weekend?
So it was a pretty good weekend, honestly. I went 2-0 on Friday in the NBA. We hit that Trae Young double-double, absolutely smashed. That was awesome. I also had who did I have? Minnesota Timberwolves that day. I had Timberwolves, they covered for me. So I went 2-0. I had one underdog play in the UFC with Kapailov. +130 underdog, that hit, so that was nice. And then I went 5-3 in the NFL. So all in all, it was a 8-3 weekend, 3 sports. Really can't complain. So ready to keep it rolling this Monday.
All right, well, let's get into that slate then. we got the Knicks and Raptors here up first. The Raptors coming off an 11-point loss to the Hawks on Saturday as 7.5-point favorites. This is the first of a 3-game road trip following 6 straight home games. This is also the first leg of back-to-back games for them. On the Knicks side, they've won 7 of their last 8 games, so they're playing really well right now. They've covered in 6 of those 8 games as well. Second leg of back-to-back road to home games for them, so they got travel involved there. They were just on the road for 2 games, now back at home for 2 games. Injury report, we have Van Vliet is questionable, and I don't see anyone on the Knicks here, so they look pretty healthy. Matchup-wise, they faced each other twice already this season. The road teams have won and covered in both games, while both games have gone over the closing total as well. Matt, what is your look on this game here?
Yeah, so I'll be honest. I'm kind of seeing things from both teams in this spot, but if I were to go one way, it actually would be with the Toronto Raptors here. And this is a New York Knicks team that continues to ride high, winning 7 of their last 8 after a skid in which they lost 5 games in a row. The Knicks are fully healthy coming into this matchup. To your point, and as for the Raptors, they're coming in fresh off a loss to the Atlanta Hawks and could potentially be without Fred VanVleet in this matchup. Again, this is a spot where both teams are very familiar with each other. They've gone 1-1. But for me, Ron, this is something that me and you talk about very often. And, I know it was only a 2-game away trip for the New York Knicks, but this is once again their first game home. They're riding a win streak. And this is typically a spot where I like to fade the home team. And, when you take a look at the Toronto Raptors, yes, they did just lose to the Atlanta Hawks, but they're coming off a 3-game win streak. And that was actually their longest win streak of the season. And I personally don't think that's a surprise, because OG Anunoby has been slid back into that lineup. And he is one of those guys where he's solid at the three-point corner specialist, I should say. He's good at rebounding. He's a solid defender, a lengthy defender, a bigger body that you can have out there. So now when you slide OG Anunoby back into that lineup, you have Pascal Siakam, you have Anunoby, and then you have Scotty Barnes as well. These are all lengthy defenders, and they might not be as tall or as long as the New York Knicks, but they're very good at guarding out at the perimeter. They're going to be the type of defenders that can help to limit someone like Julius Randle as well. So because of that, I'm actually with the Toronto Raptors in this spot with the +2.5. The Raptors do have a back-to-back, so there is a little bit of a look-ahead risk here, and that's why I said I see things from both teams in this spot. But for me, again, Ron, we've talked about this numerous times. That first game back home, the home team tends to come out a little sluggish. They're not generally as motivated as maybe the away team in the Toronto Raptors here. So because of that, I'm going to be with the Raptors. And both times these teams have faced off, I believe it was a 4-point finish and a 7-point finish. So both games stay relatively close. Maybe this could even land within that 2 points. And again, with how hot the Knicks have been, I wouldn't be surprised to see this maybe climb just a little bit so you can get a little more value on the Raptors. But for me, not an official play yet. I lean Raptors, though.
Yeah, this one's a tough one here. I think both teams here have been kind of struggling with injuries for quite a while. The Raptors, obviously, they're getting a little bit healthier, but VanVleet is questionable. And then RJ Barrett just came back from injury not too long ago, too. And so some of the things that I was actually looking at was, I think that the spread on both sides, it can go either way, in my opinion. I was actually looking more so to the under in this one. Raptors, they're actually like one of those teams that can play really good defense because of their length. And then as long as the other team doesn't have a dominant offensive center, I feel like it's a situation where they can be very versatile with their defense here with all the length that they have, especially on the 3, 4, and 5 position there. One thing that I was looking at for the under in season revenge games, the Raptors are 7-2 to the under, including 8-1 to their team total under. They struggle offensively in that spot. They're only averaging 104.3 points per game. And then on the Knicks side, they're 5-1 to the under as home favorites of 3 or less. So in these tight games, like you mentioned, in these tight games, they tend to keep it very defensive for this Knicks team here. They're only they're not averaging a whole bunch of points, but they're also struggling on the offensive side of the ball, 101.2 points per game there. The last 10 games, the Knicks are 7th in the league in defensive rating and playing the slowest pace in the league, and that's the reason why they're not averaging a lot of points or giving up a lot of points in that situation. To me, I think the one way that I would look at it for the most part, though, is to really just focus in on one team, and I think the Raptors team total under might be the way to go there. I mentioned earlier in this in-season revenge games, 8-1 to their team total under. And then I talk about the Knicks and how they've been playing defense and playing a slow pace. The other thing too, the Raptors are just 1-8 straight up, 3-6 against the spread in road games following a whole game. So when they travel, they're actually struggling on the offensive side of the ball in that situation as well. So all things put together, I think the Raptors just focusing in on that team and what I feel like they're going to do, I think they're going to struggle offensively here and probably look towards that team total under in this spot. All right, let's go to our next game here. We have the Grizzlies and the Suns. This is the one. So the Suns, obviously this is a rematch from December 27th. The Suns didn't have Booker and they've been struggling without Booker, but the Suns smashes Grizzlies team by like double digits in that game. So this is I feel like even if John Morant is questionable today, Conchar is also questionable today. I think this is a spot that the Grizzlies, I wouldn't say circled, but I think they'll be up for this game here, even if John Morant doesn't play. Suns, they've lost 8 of their last 9 games. This is the last of a 4-game road trip as well. They head home for 5 games after this one. The Grizzlies, they've won 9 straight games, so they're playing pretty well right now all together as a squad. Like I mentioned earlier, Conchar and Morant are both questionable on the Sun side. CP, Payne, Cam Johnson, Booker, they're all out. Shamit is questionable. Like I mentioned earlier, this is sort of like a revenge game that the Memphis Grizzlies were, I believe, would probably be looking at here. What are your thoughts on this one, Matt?
Yeah, I'm 100% with you, Ron. And I could understand that maybe the Grizzlies could be a little bit of a chalky pick, but I really don't care. There are so many things that are just pointing me to the Memphis Grizzlies in this spot, with or without John Morant. And, this is a Grizzlies team who's 29-13 on the season. And, kind of in a revenge spot against this Suns team as well. This Suns team without Devin Booker, Chris Paul, all those guys beat Memphis in their house. And I think Memphis is one of those teams that takes that stuff personal. And the Memphis Grizzlies have now rattled off 9 wins in a row. And I personally do not expect them to slow down whatsoever because, this Memphis team was a little bit inconsistent earlier in the season. I mean, they were still winning at a positive rate, but they had a lot of guys in and out of the lineup. Jaren Jackson was in and out of the lineup. Desmond Bane was in and out of the lineup. And he's someone who I personally expect to be huge this season and actually expect to be the Robin to the John Morant Batman. And, now that they have everyone back, you've heard Ron and I talk about this many times. When you insert a key guy back into a lineup, it does not happen overnight. Very often, they lose that game right away. I mean, take a look at the Golden State Warriors right now with Steph Curry added back in, Andrew Wiggins added back in. They're struggling at this point in time, but at some point they are going to turn that page and then they're going to consistently start winning once again. And I believe that's what's going on with the Memphis Grizzlies right now. I mean, take a look at this starting lineup. It's John Morant, Desmond Bane, Dillon Brooks, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Steven Adams. And that's one of the better starting lineups throughout the entire NBA. And I fully expect the Grizzlies to cover this 10.5-point spread too, because right now with the Phoenix Suns, they are so dependent on Mikal Bridges and DeAndre Ayton. And that's honestly just not a good spot for any team to be in. And for DeAndre Ayton, he struggles against big body centers who are also good at defense. And, that's Steven Adams in this spot. Steven Adams has been having one of his better seasons as a pro, rebounding like crazy. And this is a team, once again, they're without Chris Paul. They're without Devin Booker. They're without Cam Payne on top of that. And then Landry Shamet might be out in this matchup as well. And then it comes down to Mikal Bridges, Torrey Craig, and DeAndre Ayton. And again, these guys are solid players, but they're not guys to take over a basketball game and go on the road and to cover against a Grizzlies team. So for me, I'm with the Grizzlies here, and I'm 100% with you, Ron. This is a Suns team who has lost 11 of their last 13 games, one of those wins actually being against the Grizzlies on top of that. So I would imagine this is a Grizzlies team that comes in fired up in front of their home crowd, looking to get that loss back. So for me, I got the Grizzlies covering this one minus 10.5.
Yeah, I'm going to be talking about this game on the best bet section, primarily the first half. But for me, I think on the total side as well, one thing that I noticed with this Suns team is that they struggle offensively early in games without Booker and CP, especially in that first quarter. They tend to struggle offensively there. But then they start to pick it up towards the second half offensively. And but for the most part, it seems like they're going under their team total a lot since Devin Booker has been out. There really isn't anybody that has been able to kind of step it up offensively, even though we asked for Mikal Bridges and Ayton to put up some points there. It's just not enough because of the depth that they have. The only reason why I stay away from the double digit spot here with the Grizzlies is they've struggled to cover the double digits in the full game for the most part. They tend to like have an early lead, and then they kind of just like settle down in the second half, and the other team comes back. That's the only thing that I'm worried about in this spot here. But the Suns altogether, they just it just seems like they don't have the depth to take care of business in this one. Um, and that would be even if John Morant is out. There's situations here like we always talk about the injury replacement theory. But we'll see if Ja is out. I think the line will obviously is going to move down a little bit, and you get a little bit more value, and that's the way that you probably want to take it. Did you have a look on a total or anything on this one?
Honestly, I don't have a look on a total just because of the fact that, I mean, if I were to go anywhere, it might be the under just because for me, I actually do see a Grizzlies blowout. Like that's how I'm seeing this game play out.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
generally when that occurs, if the Grizzlies do blow them out, it might be like a 120-97 or something along those lines. So that's kind of why I do see maybe an under or something along those lines. I would be a Suns team total under. I just think this team doesn't have the offensive firepower at this point in time. You know, again, like I said, when you're relying that heavy on Mikal Bridges and DeAndre Ayton, and DeAndre Ayton is going to be matched up with Steven Adams, and then Dylan Brooks is actually a very capable defender. One of the reasons why he's so inconsistent as a point scorer is because he's generally guarding the number one point scorer on the opposing side, and he gets in foul trouble very often on top of that. So he'll probably be going up against Mikal Bridges or someone along those lines. And with Torrey Craig, more than anything, you just got to focus on boxing that guy out and not giving him wide open shots. So it's really not that complicated. And if you're getting a Memphis Grizzlies team who is coming in fired up, I personally expect this one to blow out. And if because of that, if that does occur, I would be the Suns team total under and maybe the under as a whole, because generally it's somewhat like one team scores a lot, one team scores a little. You know what I mean? So
yeah. No, that definitely makes a lot of sense. That Suns team total under makes a lot of sense to me. I like that play. I think I've actually played that a couple of times during that period where Booker was out. I might go back into that one.
yeah,
That's a good look.
honestly, even after me and you talked about it, I haven't plugged that in or anything, but it does sound good because they literally have no offensive firepower. Like their bench was weak even without Payne and Shamet, you know, and now they're top two. I mean, it's weird even saying Landry Shamet's a top bench guy, but you know what I mean? But it is what it is.
Exactly. All right, let's get to this last game here. The Rockets Lakers. Rockets have lost 10 straight, only covered in one of those games. Last of a 4-game road trip for them, second leg of back-to-back games, and third game in 4 nights. So bad travel spot, bad form altogether for the Rockets here. Lakers, they've lost 3 straight, including that crazy finish last night. I don't know what Westbrook was doing in the last play, to be honest. But they got that L there. Second leg of back-to-back home games here, a second of a 5-game homestand as well. So they're going to be sitting pretty at home for quite a while. Injury report, last I saw, KPJ is questionable. AD Walker, Reeves out. Beverly questionable. I did not see LeBron on the list. So, I mean, for now, he's looking to be playing. First matchup of the season between both teams. This one is a tough one. I mean, it's like, how do you back either of these teams at this moment with how they both have been playing? I mean, if we look at a longer streak, I guess like last 8, 9, 10 games, Lakers look to be a little bit better, but for the most part, they're also on a 3-game losing streak here. I don't know. Where do you go with this one?
Yeah, I'm with you. This is a tougher game, and they don't have any like props or anything dropped at this point in time either, so I can't really touch on that. But if I were to go anywhere in this matchup, it would be with the Lakers with the -5.5. This Houston Rockets team, especially without Kevin Porter Jr., they struggle in terms of having a primary ball handler. You know, Kevin Porter Jr. for this team is the primary ball handler. They really don't have a backup point guard at this point in time. This team really doesn't have a lot of backup anything. They really need to make some additions. I don't know, probably not at the All-Star break, probably just at the offseason. Because, again, without Kevin Porter Jr., the primary ball handler is either Jalen Green or Jayshawn Tate. And neither of those guys are point guards at all. You know, I love my boy Jalen Green, but he's not the best in terms of facilitating. So a lot does hinge on Kevin Porter Jr. Jr., whether he plays in this game or whether he does not. And, like you said, LeBron James on the other side, not on the injury report, so expected to suit up. And when you're coming off a 3-game loss or 3 losses in a row, you're at home, LeBron's playing. LeBron's the guy that I'm personally going to put my faith in, no matter how much I dislike him or anything like that. But so I do think LeBron is going to get this team going. Again, you're going against guys like Jalen Green, Eric Gordon, Jabari Smith Jr., and Alperen Sengun. So again, I do give the edge to the Lakers here. LeBron is too good, too skilled, and at the small forward position, that means he's going to be matched up with Eric Gordon. Like, come on. That's something he should definitely take advantage of. Very much anticipating his points, rebounds, assists being dropped as well. So I can definitely take a look at that. But again, I think this Lakers team, even though they're coming off 3 losses in a row, they have some injuries. They've had some guys step up, like Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder's been playing some better basketball. Yeah. Russell Westbrook has been playing good off of that bench. And then again, if Russell Westbrook is going against this Houston Rockets bench, the Rockets are one of the weakest throughout the entire NBA in terms of paint defense. If you're going to allow Russell Westbrook to actually drive to the basket and get easy buckets, that's how he gets going. And again, when you have a second unit with this is the Rockets' second unit: Jayshawn Tate, Garrison Matthews, Kenyon Martin Jr. I have respect for him, Tari Eason, and Bruno Fernando. Like, a lot of these guys potentially belong in the G League. So for me, once again, if Russell Westbrook is going against this second unit, I think he should take advantage, and they have an advantage when the backups get into the game. So for me, if I were to go anywhere, I think it would be the Lakers -5.5 here, but I'm still waiting on a lot of props to get dropped and things of that nature. So for me right now, though, it is still the Lakers -5.5.
Would you want to look at Westbrook points in this spot? I feel like ever since those guys have been out, Walker, Reeves, even probably before they were out for the most part, he's been scoring a lot more. I'm looking at his last 6 or 7 games. 6 games, 5 of the last 6 games, over 20 points. What has his props been at?
Bro, people trash Russell Westbrook too. And the thing is, I mean, I think people are starting to quiet down a little bit, but beginning of the season, people are trashing him, and he's actually having a very productive season. Like, I understand there's those moments in games that you're like, what in God's name was going through your mind, boy? But he's still playing pretty good overall, And in terms of same game parlays, in terms of props, stuff like that, he is a great player to build around too, because a lot of it is based on matchup. All right, when you're going against the Houston Rockets, this is a prime spot for Russell Westbrook in terms of points, in terms of assists for sure, because you generally want to target the assists in pace-up spots, a spot where you can get out and run, get baskets in transition, and, of course, going against a team with lesser defense. And that's exactly what the Houston Rockets are. Alperen Sengun, I do like him. He's a very nice offensive 5, but still doesn't move his feet that well. He does kind of hack a little bit, can get in foul trouble. So, again, that's a prime spot for Russell Westbrook. I don't know what his triple-double is, but I honestly think it would be worth a look tonight even, because, again, this is a Houston Rockets team that if they don't have that primary ball handler, they're not going to get their offense in motion, maybe not get as many open looks as typical. And in turn, meaning more rebounds. Russell Westbrook, one of those guards who loves to attack the basket. And what does he do right when he gets that rebound? He's out. They're out and running. You know what I'm saying? He's looking for that outlet pass to get to the basket, whether it be LeBron, even Thomas Bryant. Thomas Bryant has been playing better basketball as well. I do think Westbrook would be a good look tonight. No clue what his tripped up is looking like tonight, but that's something that who knows? I might even have a little sprinkle on it.
Yeah, we already know the Rockets don't play really good defense. Actually, both of these teams don't play defense at all. Yeah. So it's interesting because when I look at this team, the Rockets here, especially, right, 4-18 straight up, 7-14-1 against the spread on the road this season. The one thing to note is that they only average 109.8 points per game, allowing 120.7 points per game in that spot. If you include that they're on the second leg of back-to-back games, they're actually 4-0 to their team total under. But like I mentioned, the Lakers don't play that much defense here. And the Lakers, when they're on the second leg of back-to-back games, they're 2-4 straight up, 8 and ATS, 5-1 to the over on the second leg of back-to-back games. They're allowing almost 130 points per game in that spot. And none of those games went into OT, Matt. And so that just shows the type of defense they play on the second leg of back-to-back games. The only thing that I can think of is that some of those games won't have LeBron in there. Obviously, but this is a quite a lot. I feel like to have back-to-back games with no rest, 6 games so far in the season, and we're barely halfway through. But for the most part, I feel like there should be points here to be made. I think even if the Rockets are struggling offensively, the lack of defense on the Lakers side might help them out here. But that doesn't mean that the Rockets will cover. It could just mean that there's going to be a lot of points on both sides here. I would probably look towards the over on this one, regardless of how the Rockets have been doing offensively. I think this might just be a fast paced, no defensive type game to close out the night here. That's it, guys. That's 3 games here on the board from MLK Day. We got NBA going off all day long. I hope you guys enjoy it. But first, before we close out the show, we got to do our best bets. Matt, let's start with you here.
Hey, let's go. And my boy Justin, he is going to like this one. Great minds think alike. All right. I actually found that at 27.5 though on DraftKings and -110. So not too bad because so my best bet of the day is going to be Steph Curry over 27.5 points. And guys, we've been absolutely smoking the best bets. We got 2 in a row. We're 13-3 over our last 16. So let's get right into it because Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors travel on the road to face off against the Washington Wizards. And for me, there is a tiny, slight worry with this being a back-to-back, what the minutes will be like. But again, I think with the Warriors coming off that and kind of an embarrassing loss to the Chicago Bulls in their last outing. And the Warriors have lost 4 of their last 5 games, and they don't play till Thursday. All of this leads me to believe that Steph Curry is going to get his full minutes and full run tonight. Steph Curry, since returning from injury, has been back for 3 games, putting up 24 points, 15 points, and 20 points. And in those 3 outings, Steph Curry not shooting terrible, shooting at a 44% clip, but this is a player who typically shoots 50% from the field and 43% from 3. And because of this, I believe there's going to be a natural uptick in Curry's field goal percentage, in Curry's scoring, and in these 3 games, Steph Curry is typically a player who averages around 20 shots per game, and since returning has only had 20-plus shots once. All right, again, he averages 19.8 shots per game to be exact. And, this is a matchup where Steph Curry is going to be going against Monty Morris of the Washington Wizards, a point guard who's a little bit smaller, someone you can take advantage of. I mean, Steph Curry can score on anyone, as we know, but if you're going against a smaller point guard, someone with not much mass to them either, I think Steph Curry should have his way and be able to do things from the 3-point line and be able to drive to the basket. This is also a Washington Wizards team who on the year is giving up the 21st ranked 3-point percentage on defense. So meaning the opposing team has been very successful at shooting 3-point shots at a high percentage, a high clip. And again, on the season, Steph Curry is averaging 28.9 points, 6.4 rebounds, and 6.4 assists. So averaging over this number. And as you guys know, you've seen me pick these plays numerous times when guys are coming back from injury, starting to ramp back up. It takes a couple games. They get their full minutes. Then they get back to their full shot percentage. And the field goal percentage naturally has an uptick. And I think that's exactly what Steph Curry does tonight. I actually think he has his first 30-point outing since coming back from injury. So I like even higher than the 27.5. So again, I'm a Steph Curry over 27.5 points tonight against the Washington Wizards.
I like it. I like it a lot. I mean, obviously I think there's a lot to be said that they mentioned that he is going to play on the second leg of back-to-back games here. I think they're starting to figure out that they're not the team that they were in a lot of the injuries and the roster movement, with all the injuries that are happening and players rotating through the rotation. They need these wins. I think early on in the season, we talked about it. Second leg of back-to-back games, nobody played. I think they expected their bench to really play up and get it done. But now with how the parity is in the league, especially on the West, they can't afford to have these to lay down on these second leg of back-to-back games. Did you have something to add?
Yeah. And all I was going to say is, all season long when me and you have done these shows, we've talked about how inserting stars into the lineup after injury actually slows your team down. And, the Golden State Warriors are a prime example. Steph Curry, one of the best players in the league. Andrew Wiggins, one of the better players in the league, one of the better defenders in the league. But you see what happened with the Warriors. You insert these two key guys back into the lineup, and there's been chemistry issues. There's been some synergy issues.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, they've lost 3 games in a row. Obviously, I don't expect this to continue, but this kind of backs that point that me and Ron have talked about all season long in terms of fading a team when stars are inserted back into that lineup.
Yeah, I think the one other thing to note too, Matt, to back your point is on the road, the Warriors have been struggling on the defensive side of the ball, and that means that they need to keep up with the offense, and that's going to support that play there. So like my turn here. The way that I'm going with this one, I'm going to one of the games that we talked about earlier, the Grizzlies versus the Suns here. I'm going to focus primarily on the Grizzlies first half here. I like the -6.5 in the first half. Right now, I haven't taken it yet, but I'm going to be taking it regardless. I just need to wait for the status of Ja Morant because he's obviously going to move the line. If he's not in, it's going to come down maybe a point or a point and a half for that first half margin, for that first half line, and I would love to take it there because I have some stats to back it up with and without Ja Morant here. Grizzlies as home favorites versus teams with a losing record. The first half margin is plus 10.3, even though they're 5-1 against the spread on the full game. So we want to just get in and get out here. We want to take care of that. We want to take advantage of how well they do in the first half in these games. We don't want the possibility of them kind of letting down in that second half as they have a huge first half margin. So let's just take advantage of that first half there. Average first half margin as double-digit favorites at home. I said they don't cover at a high rate as double-digit favorites this season, but their first half margin at home in these double-digit fave spots, plus 14.2. Once again, we want to take advantage of that there. In-season revenge games. I talked about how the Suns beat the Grizzlies without Devin Booker on December 27th by double digits in Memphis. The Grizzlies want to avenge that loss here in that first half margin. In the first half, the average margin in season games played at home plus 11.6. So we're seeing a lot of advantage here for the Grizzlies early. And then without Ja Morant at home, just in case he doesn't play, I still have support there. Plus 8.5 margin in 3 games at home without Ja Morant so far this season. So whether or not he's in or out, I'm going to be taking this Grizzlies first half. I just want to make sure I get the proper number with the status of Ja being official. So I'd wait on it, but that's definitely the way that I will be going as far as best bet here on the show. With that said, as far as the NBA slate, we got NBA all day today. So I'm going to be going through the slate. I haven't put anything official on the site yet. College basketball plays will be up as well. College basketball has been treating me well. NBA, like I said, the NBA during the weekend wasn't great. Was coming off a strong previous week. I went on like an 8-1 NBA run, and then took this weekend obviously took a hit. So hopefully we get back on track. And that is it, Matt. Any last words before we cut out for Martin Luther King Day?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, let's have a day, y'all. I had no clue that this was NBA all day, and I was kind of bummed a little bit because my favorite play coming into the slate was actually Marcus Smart points plus assists, 21.5. Felt like that was mad low going against the Hornets. I don't know what that's at right now personally. Couldn't say it because it was a 110 game, but excited to bet some NBA all day. I'll be active on Twitter. I'm sure Ron will be active on Twitter as well. So let's get this going. We'll have the best bets up soon, and let's have a successful MLK day, y'all. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, let's make it happen. All right. Well, next show will be on Wednesday. I believe it would be Jeff Michaels with us on Wednesday, same time, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard. Make sure you guys head over to the website today. Monday is Monday, $9 Monday. So picks and packages. We also got the promo of the $2.99 remainder of the season, college basketball, NBA, and NHL for that matter. And make sure you hit the like and subscribe button before you go. Till then, good luck with all your action. Peace.
Peace, y'all.